here we go. This one you're going to find very interesting. You've all heard of the Knights Templar, the Masons, Knights Templar. All the history, supposedly, they were for God and they were crusading and for God and, whatever the hey they were doing. Anyway, we're about to show that, in their own books, it's very questionable whether or not the Crusades actually took place. And if they really did take place, they were doing it not in the name of God. So, here we go. All right. As again, I'm going to show that this is their book. It's not something Scottish Rite. This is my grandfather's book. There's old George. Freemasonry and the Holy Bible. All right, here we go. We're going to get into some deep stuff, and I know there's going to be some comments. So we're down. Let's see. Order. I know there's a shadow. I'm trying not to. Wait a minute. Let me do this. Let's see here. Order of the Knights Templar. Okay.
This order is composed of 3 orders: the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross, the Order of Malta, and the Order of the Temple or Knights Templar. Although the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross is based upon biblical records of the history of the Jews at the time of Darius Hystaspes, it is generally agreed that Knights Templar Masonry was evolved from the various Christian orders of the period of the Crusades in Palestine from the 10th to the 13th centuries of the Christian era. So first it talks about the Order of the Knights Templar is composed of 3 orders. The first one is the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross. And it mentions that order is based upon biblical records, time of Darius Hystaspes. Well, if you go down here to the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross, they elaborate on that more. And it says, the legend of the embassy of Zerubbabel to the court of Darius constitutes the basis of the ceremonies of this order. Well, if you know about Zerubbabel, he is mentioned in the book of Zechariah, I should say, in the Old Testament. He came out of the 70-year Babylonian captivity that Judah was in around 400 BC approximately. So he was living, and this Illustrious Order of the Red Cross supposedly comes 400 years before Christ. And it even has down here where it mentions the history of the embassy is recorded by Josephus, taken from the apocryphal book of Esdras. Well, the Apocrypha is related to Catholicism. The Apocrypha are books that were written in between the Old and the New Testament. You will not find the Apocrypha in a King James Bible that a Baptist uses or other denominations, but you will find the Apocrypha in Bibles that Catholics use. So the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross, according to the Masons, is based upon Zerubbabel, which was 400 BC, and it's also based on apocryphal books, which are between 400 BC up to 0 BC at the time that Jesus was born. But yet, up above, they said it is generally agreed that Knights Templar Masonry was evolved from the various Christian orders of the period of the Crusades in Palestine from the 10th to the 13th centuries of the Christian era. So the question is, how can you say that the Knights Templar started in the 10th to 13th centuries when you even admit that the first order of the Knights Templar is the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross, which started 400 years BC? And then it also brings up another question, which if they say that the Red Cross is the cross representing that Jesus died on, how can the Illustrious Order of the Red Cross be the cross that Jesus died on when it started 400 years before Jesus was even born?
So if you think about it, most people, if you pull up a picture of the so-called Knights Templar, it's armor with a big giant red cross on their chest.
Yeah, it says right here, under the order of Knights Templar.
Let's see, wait a minute, let me get this. Okay, here we go.
It says the Templars of that era were preeminently distinguished as warriors of the cross. How can you be a whose cross are you talking about? If you're going back to Zerubbabel, it can't be Jesus' cross. The cross wasn't even invented as a torture device by the Romans yet, 400 years BC. How can the Knights Templar be warriors of the cross when it wasn't even invented yet, much less Jesus hadn't even been born yet? You got to wait 400 years for that. And they further say Masonic Knights Templar is in many respects a glorious succession of the ancient Templars of Jerusalem. And then it says it produces the type of crusaders needed in this present age of insidious war against Christianity.
And you notice it says against Christianity.
Yeah, so first you say they're warriors of the cross, and they existed from the 10th to 13th centuries after Jesus was born. But then you say their basis is in 400 years before Jesus was born, and that's where the Red Cross comes from, although there was no cross until 400 years later that Jesus died on. So how are you warriors for Christianity when your call started before the cross was even invented yet? And then, for today, you're applying it. It says the type of crusaders needed in this present age of insidious war against Christianity. So now we're against Christianity? There's so many contradictions here within this order of Knights Templar. It makes you wonder how much of this is just all made up and how much is really has any truth to it.
I was telling Eric, I said this either proves that the crusade was just a fable and it never took place, or this proves that the crusaders, if it happened, they were pretending they were doing it for God, and they were killing people, raping and stealing land from people, and saying that they were doing it in the name of God. I mean, sure, there's a lot of people that do that today, but they ain't walking around with a big giant armor with a red cross on their chest, claiming that they're doing it for the Lord. So, like Eric said, here you start out, you're saying, oh, we're doing it. Then you get down here, you say, oh, it's the Order of the Red Cross, which you see that it comes from the Catholic Church, the Apocrypha. And then you come over and it says the Order of the Knights Templar. And then you get down here and they're pretty much saying they're against Christianity. So what the hey? Alright, people, start making some comments below. What do you think? Did this book, this Freemason book, just prove that the Crusades never happened? Or did it just prove that the so-called Freemason Knights Templar were a bunch of thugs?